Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wallow and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome to Houston, Texas. Gorgeous day today. Going to be in the mid-60s tonight when the Tigers kick it off against the Cougars. It'll be 60 degrees by the time it's over, about 55 degrees, so it's going to be very, very pleasant. Warmer, obviously, than it will be in Memphis. There are two streaks on the line. The Tigers have actually beaten Houston, now ranked 17th in both polls, 24th in the college football poll. They have beaten the Cougars 5 games in a row. But this Cougar team has won 9 games in a row after losing the opening week to Texas Tech. They have put together this nice string. So one of the streaks will come to an end, will die this evening at TD-ECU Stadium. The Grizzlies, Jay Morgan, actually have won 2 games in a row. We keep thinking they're going to win one, lose one. That's the way it's been. But they got 2 W's in a row. Ja was outstanding last night, 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He had 17 in the third quarter. Dylan Brooks was a presence again. Both sides of the basketball, Bane and Triple J played really, really well. The defense actually was defensive. And Memphis is able to take down the Clippers, 120-108, a team that had won 8 of their last 10. Memphis had 5 guys in double figures, so they're 8-7 now, and 1 game over 500 again. So I would have to say a very productive night for the Grizz. And, yeah, you know, the NBA season is a long, long season. You can't just sort of go game by game. You got to figure there is a flow to it all. And the Grizzlies had lost their way for a little bit. Part of that might have been because Dylan Brooks was inserted into the starting lineup. Melton went back onto the bench. And that sort of chemistry is, and you know this as well as anybody, being a coach, Jay Morgan, that chemistry can sometimes be very delicate and takes a while to reblend when you insert a new tangent into the mix. And it looks like the Grizz have found their way.
I agree, and that's a huge factor, I think, that people overlook a lot, is as well as they were playing without Dylan Brooks, it's going to take a minute for him to gel back in. Did you happen to see what he was wearing last night?
No. I've read all the stories. I saw some of the highlights on ESPN. I did not see the game.
Well, after the game in the press conference, he was wearing a outfit from designer Burberry, and his hat had little Mickey Mouse ears on them. It was a statement outfit for a statement game. How about that?
All right. What was the statement? Because I don't quite get that. Is he about to have a Disney sponsorship or something?
I don't know. I think it's a little more ambiguous. I'm not sure what the statement is, but I guess we'll find out together as the season progresses on. That's why we play the games.
That's exactly right. So we've got a busy show. Glenn Rogers Jr. will talk with us as we get further along in the high school playoffs, and there are still some teams, 4 local Memphis teams involved. Glenn will dissect all of that, and then we'll talk a lot more NBA and the Grizzlies win and the Golden State Warriors and the crazy East, which is really close at the top. We'll do that with our agent from Priority Sports in Chicago, Andy Schiffman, will join us at about 10:40, 10:45 this morning. We've got locks that we got to get to here in just a minute. I want to touch for a second on 2 things. Last night, the Patriots started week number 11 off with a 5th straight win. They beat Atlanta 25-0. Are you sold now, Jay Morgan, on Mac Jones? Because I will tell you, I am really starting to believe. I don't think this is fluky. I don't know that he's been totally examined to be found out yet. But you got to admit the guy is really sharp and figures stuff out.
He's excellent, no doubt about it. But he's also really smart, too. I think in terms of being sold, Now, again, I want to preface, I'm not a quarterback whisperer or any kind of quarterback guru, but just in my opinion, he seems very similar to like Baker Mayfield, Tua, those smaller guys that don't make a lot of mistakes. But the Patriots as a whole, I'm definitely sold on playing great football right now. But Mac Jones, I think, is just a really smart quarterback, and he doesn't make mistakes, and that's exactly what they need in that role, honestly.
Yeah, I told you earlier this week, it was pointed out, and I can't remember who did it, but if you look at the long game, right, not the one Super Bowl that Brady and the Bucks won last year, and you remember Russell Copeland is still high on Tampa, getting to the Super Bowl again, and Brady's his MVP, and I'm not so sold on them or him at this very moment, but he did have a lull last year. But the long game is Mac Jones. I'm not saying he is going to be like Brady for a whole career, but he could end up bringing a Super Bowl or two to New England. And if he did, you'd have to say, you know what? Maybe Bill Belichick made the right move at the right time with Tom Brady to get this kid. So we'll put everything on pause and wait on that. That is a story to develop, but it's interesting for sure. The National League, the American League, they announced their MVPs. We'll start with the National League because the real story is in the AL. And that is Bryce Harper won the National League MVP. It's the second since 2015. He's only 29. So he becomes the fourth player since 2000 to get multiple MVPs before they're 30 years of age. You want to hear these names of the other three that have done that?
I would love to.
They are Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and A-Rod. I'd say all three of those guys are Hall of Famers, correct?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Bryce Harper belongs in those names, in my opinion. I don't like Bryce Harper.
Well, Bryce Harper delivers.
Apparently.
And when you get at the age of 29 your second MVP, you certainly are beginning to make a case for really, really becoming a major player on the legacy measurement of baseball players. But the guy that goes off the chart is Shohei Ohtani. He's the American League MVP, by the way, a unanimous MVP. I should point out, in 2015, the guy you don't like, Bryce Harper, he was a unanimous MVP. And the truth is now, Shohei Ohtani has become a global superstar. In fact, baseball, which usually doesn't do a very good job of marketing their game or their stars, has done that with this guy. They've already put out 4 promotions in 4 different languages to shout out Shohei Ohtani, and they should, because he's only 27 years old. He is the first ever player in the history of the game to hit 30 home runs and have at least 10 pitching appearances. And in fact, if you want to look at his numbers, 46 home runs, 23 starts, throw in 25 or more steals. No one's ever going to do that again, I don't think. Not in my lifetime. 130 and a third innings pitched, a 3.18 ERA, 156 strikeouts, only 44 walks. I mean, he's one of those guys, and there's not that many in my lifetime. Michael Jordan is one, and I don't even know that he had the hype that Shohei Ohtani had. LeBron James did, and LeBron James lived up to that kind of billing. Tiger Woods, since he was 3 years old, had that kind of a sort of a burden on him to be great. And, of course, he delivered in the greatest of ways. Shohei Ohtani is doing it. I mean, I don't know that he opens up the door for other people to do that, because most human beings aren't capable of being a pitcher or a hitter because of the time that it takes. But to deliver that kind of power and to deliver that kind of power from the mound, are you kidding me? It's incredible. He's got to be considered one of the greatest athletes of our lifetime, because no one else shy of Babe Ruth, who didn't do it for very long, but he's the only one shy of Babe Ruth who's ever done anything like this. And that was almost 100 years ago that we're talking about. So it's really an incredible accomplishment for Shohei Ohtani. And baseball should be screaming at the top of their lungs in Japan, in Canada, in the United States, in the Dominican Republic, in Puerto Rico, wherever baseball is loved, they should be shouting how great this guy is and what he accomplished this year.
I can't argue with you. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm more interested to see kind of how long he's able to be a starting pitcher. You know, because he starts every sixth day. It's very strange the way they do it. So, you know, I would anticipate they will probably want to move him into a relieving role at some point, but I don't know why he would want to do that. It's interesting to see how this kind of thing plays out because, like you said, we've never seen anything like this before.
Well, and you think about each position and side of the ball, so to speak, has their own routines and regimens the players go through. You know, you're going to go, if you're a pitcher, you're going to have an off day after you start. You're going to throw the long ball for a little bit, and then you're going to, there's different things you got to do. Now, he's doing that while he's doing all the other routines and regiments that a hitter has to do.
Right.
I don't know that he takes as much batting practice as other guys do. I don't know that he does the long toss like other guys do because he might be in the outfield that next day. It's really unheard of and incredible, and the fact that he came through the way that he did with all that pressure on him to do it, it's phenomenal. Truly one of the great stories that we've seen in baseball history, honestly.
I agree.
Think about it. You're talking about the last guy to do it was Babe Ruth. All right, we've got to get to locks. I'm going to let you go over where we are with that. People, I'm trying really hard to get back in this thing. I've got, I think, 3 good locks. But my feelings won't be hurt if you absolutely go opposite of me, considering I was 0-3 last week.
I trust you this week, Dave. I think you got it. So I'm 10-8 with 1 perfect week, perfect being 0-3. You're 6-11-1 with 2 perfect weeks.
Are those 0-3 weeks?
Yeah, they are.
I have one that I was actually 3-0.
Oh, maybe you were. Maybe it's 1-3-0 and 1-0-3. So you even yourself out there.
I think that's it, Mr. J. Morgan.
But it's perfect either way.
No.
It's perfect either way. You know, we're not specific about if it's positive perfect or negative perfect. It's perfect.
Okay. So here we go. I'll start. We'll rotate. I have one NFL game that I like this week, and it's my Niners. You know, I've been a Jimmy Garoppolo guy for a long time, and the Niners are coming off this great victory over the Rams. It appears that they have refound their form as a physical team and more balance and much more confidence. And who are they playing? The team that Urban Meyer is proud of in losses. They are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and all they got to do is give less than a touchdown, 6.5 points. That's what the Niners are giving the Jags. I think they'll win by 17. San Francisco, easy. That's my first lock of this week.
One of my alternates, Dave, is Jaguars plus 6.5. So I actually had the other side of that, but I'm a lunatic, though, for liking Urban Meyer in any game. My first game, I'm going to go against my Titans this week. The Texans are coming off a bye. And I know the Texans are not very good, but this is a divisional game. I think you throw the records out in divisional games. The Titans are kind of due for a stink or two, and coming off a bye, I think the Texans might be able to deliver it to them. You got Tyrod Taylor back, plus 10.5. Give me the Texans on the road.
I almost absolutely took that. I did.
It's a lot of points.
Almost took that. It's a lot for an NFL game.
Absolutely.
And as we point out, and I can't remember the thing, but I want to say it's like 70% of those that cover are winners in the National Football League. Now I'm going 2 college games. Most likely you'll go NFL. That seems to be your bailiwick. I'm going to go with my second pick here, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is still a one-loss team. Oklahoma State is going to play Oklahoma and Texas later in this year. Oklahoma State is, I think, a terrific offense and a decent defense. They're taking on Texas Tech. Granted, they got to go to Lubbock, but Texas Tech has already made a bowl. What else are they playing for? Oklahoma State is still playing to get into the college football playoffs. All they're giving away is 10.5. I don't think Tech can score a whole lot on them. I think the 10.5 is very reasonable. I think Oklahoma State will win by at least 2 touchdowns. I'll take the Cowboys Overtime.
That's a great bet. Texas Tech is one of the few college teams I'm familiar with. I did go to school there. I don't know how they beat Iowa State. They are awful. Oklahoma State, absolutely 10. I love that 10 points to cover that, even on the road. My second game, Dave, I don't know what you're going to think of this. I think you'll like it, but you might not. The Ravens had a few tough weeks so far. They're going to Chicago to play the Bears this week. The Bears are coming off a bye. And it's only Bears are plus 4.5. It's not a ton of points, but at home off a bye, I love teams coming off a bye. That's how the Jags won their game. I'm going to take the Bears plus 4.5 at home against the Ravens.
Oh, I could kiss you for that. Now, if I had done that, I would have said you should have said to me, "Wallow, that's like the Miami Dolphins pick. You're being a homer." That Baltimore defense will probably find itself again. Lamar Jackson will probably go crazy. That Bear defense in Chicago, it's pretty good. And I think it's pretty chilly in Chicago.
It's supposed to be a cold one.
I mean, the Bears are getting 4.5. If Justin Fields can do anything, and the Baltimore defense hasn't looked like the Baltimore defense the last couple of weeks.
Very overrated.
I like that pick. I thought about it, but I couldn't go homer like that because you would have just killed me. All right, final lock. And this one, it's a crazy kind of a line, because it's a home team, only a 4.5-point favorite against a decent team with a really good coach. I get that. But this team's undefeated. This team isn't getting its national recognition. Maybe this week we'll do it. I don't see how Sincere McCormick and Texas San Antonio, with a coach that just got a new 10-year deal that makes him, I think, the highest group of 5 coach out there, how can Texas San Antonio only be a 4.5-point favorite against UAB? Maybe it's a sucker bet. I'm a sucker. I am all over Texas San Antonio to crush UAB.
I was looking at that, too. That's a strange line. Maybe UAB is better than I anticipated. They have had a pretty good football program as they built it back up again, so we'll see with that one. I got to go to this game, and it's not going to be the way you think I'm going to go, but this is going to be a showdown in the AFC East this week. The Dolphins and the Jets. The Dolphins are going to New York to play the Jets. After a win against Baltimore last week on Thursday night, incomparably, the Dolphins are 3-point favorites on the road in a divisional game. The Dolphins aren't 3 points better than anybody, even at home. Give me the Jets plus 3 at home in that one.
Well, I knew you had to take the Jets because you've been banned from taking Miami.
Exactly. You got it.
Holy smokes. So you are taking the Jets to beat your team. Out of all the teams, and this is hard to do, because, like, if you said to me, who's your favorite team? And then I got to go, well, Cubs and Bears and Blackhawks, and, that's tough. That's really tough. But if there was one team, Jay Morgan Harder, that you want to win more than any other of your faves, which team would it be? Don't tell me Rhodes College either.
No, it would be the Titans.
The Titans?
Yeah, I'm a Titans guy. I love the Dolphins, too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a Titans guy.
Oh, wow. So if the Titans played the Dolphins, you're for the Titans?
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh. And you actually – so both of your teams, you are betting against this week.
You got it.
There is a man loyal to his wallet, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Morgan Harder. We are sitting in Houston. I'm calling it Southwest, the Family Leisure Studio. You are actually in the Flynn Broadcasting Center, which is the Family Leisure Studio. But either place, I can tell you that the ultimate game room sale is going on. That's free delivery on all in-stock items right now on pool tables, theater seating. They've got it all, the big theater seats for the big game or the big movie, whatever you would like. They have all kinds of accessories for your game room, and they come with a 20% off price tag. And they're basically saying, Lindsay and Billy, all those wonderful folks are saying, beat the Christmas rush. Get your game room ready now so folks can enjoy it during the holidays. The ultimate game room sale happening at this very moment at Family Leisure. And this portion of our show brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten, maybe the worst golfer in town, but the best when it comes to selling your home, I promise. That's why they call him Sheldon, because he always gets the job done. Instead of practicing golf. He spends most of his time making sure that his clients are going to get the absolute best service and the most money for their homes. And he's got this strategy nobody else does. It's called the Strategic Marketing Program. It's got shell bucks. So he's going to tell you, please talk to 2 or 3 agents, but make sure he's one of them. And once you've talked to him, you'll love him. So they call him 3-putter, triple bogey because he's terrible at golf because he works so hard for you. And find out that I'm telling you the truth here by calling 483-0546. He'll talk strategy, or you can get him at MemphisRelocate.com. We'll pause for a second. When we come back, Glenn Rogers Jr., our coach on high school football. It comes your way next.
You have opinions?
Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad.
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Tiger Nation, your 11th ranked men's basketball team hosts Western Kentucky Friday at 7 o'clock at FedEx Forum. For tickets, visit GoTigersGoTix.com or call 901-678-2331. Also, make sure to take advantage of the 3-game back starting at $45. Pick any 3 men's basketball games on the schedule for this unbelievable ticket price. That's this Friday, November 19th at 7 o'clock against Western Kentucky.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Hey everybody, they're here and coming into All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch. Yes, the new Silverados and Tahoes are here or on the way. And you could claim your new 2021 or 2022 today. Look, I'm out here in Olive Branch now looking at a lot full of certified pre-owned Chevys. If it's on your wish list, I bet you find it here. Holiday travel? Here you come. And here's an added Chevy bonus in November. For all military first responders, teachers, and college students, with any new All-Star Chevy you want, enjoy an extra $500 thank you. And remember, it's not the Pike, not Mount Moriah, not Collierville, or South Haven. It's got to be Olive Branch, people. And look, if you want to sell any car, truck, or SUV, All-Star will buy it, even if you owe money on it, and even if you don't buy one of theirs. Just call Jeff or Kevin. They said you can bring your title and get your check today. So what are you waiting for? Come down and find new roads to Olive Branch and All-Star Chevrolet, or go to allstarautogroup.com.
For years, I have talked to you about James Davis, the finest men's store in all of Memphis, the service, the selection, everything that goes with quality. And I've told you recently about the Stant Perfect Fit shirts. Well, now there's the Stant Perfect Fit pants. Absolutely amazing. Only 2 measurements fed into a computer, and all of a sudden, you've got the perfect fit pants. I'm talking everywhere. The leg, the seat, the bottom, all made to fit your body absolutely perfectly. And there's 80 different fabrics to choose from. You will find the right look, the right fit, almost instantaneously. They start at $162, but you will never find a better pair of pants than these at James Davis Men's Store. And the shirts are still there, and guess what? It's the only place in Memphis that you can find Stant. That's the James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Listening to that promo for Rebel Yells, I cannot wait. I know both Mississippi State and Ole Miss have to get past their games this week. They're both huge favorites. I think what the Rebels are like 35.5-point favorites. So they're both going to come in with wins, and they're going to have the showdown, the Egg Bowl. Egg Bowl's going to have more meaning this year than, well, I guess it has incredible meaning every year, but it just seems like it'll be more fun this year with a lot at stake, particularly for Ole Miss, because they could go to an incredible bowl if they were to win the next 2 weeks. Also, it's good to hear Gordon Ford, my old friend. People forget he's been doing radio, particularly SEC stuff, since I'm just in the late 80s. So he's been around a long time, and I know he's on that show, and he's on Rob Brown's show on Saturday. It is good to hear the voice of my friend Gordon Ford. In the meantime, before we talk high school football with our coach, Glenn Rogers, I'll let you know this portion of the program brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and the buyback. So what's the buyback? A lot of people think that their old energy guzzler that may be on its last leg is worth nothing. That's not true anymore, because if you paid a big repair bill on your existing heating and air conditioning system this year, John Conway will buy it back up to $1,500. He'll do that even if they didn't do the repairs. If you show them a receipt, $1,500 for the purchase, if you're willing to buy new technology, and I'm talking about state-of-the-art Carrier Infinity systems. That is what you want to do. And if you didn't have any repair bill, John says, don't worry about it. I'll give you $1,500 in trade for your old energy guzzler so that you can get this new select Carrier Infinity system. You know, when air conditioning systems get older, they're really inefficient. The cost of the repairs and the higher utility costs, you get rid of that and you get $1,500 back. It all pays for itself in the long run. It's really, really cost efficient. All you got to do is make the call, 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Glenn Rogers Jr., we've only got, I think it's 4 teams left from the area in the high school playoffs. That seems to me to be less than usual. Is that correct? Good morning.
Oh, absolutely, Dave, and good morning to you and all our listeners. And you're right. Normally, you got a lot more teams still playing for right to go to the state championship games, and only 4 teams, like you said, and 2 of them right here we're familiar with, Christian Brothers and Lausanne. And I tell you, it's been a weird year. It's kind of been a down year for this area, but at least we still got some teams, with their goals and dreams right in front of them still, and they control their own destiny.
Well, the great story, Christian Brothers, we'll get to that in a second, because to be honest with you, they were expected to be a team that would get this far, and then they really stumbled several times during the season, and all of a sudden they did make the state semifinals. So that is a good story. But I want to go and you look. There's only one public school, and it's MAHS, that is in the playoffs. I have to believe that a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Memphis City schools last year did not compete. And a lot of these other schools that are public from other areas in the state did compete. You've got to believe that 1 year off was very costly for all these city programs.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. And if anybody thinks any different, they're sleeping up under a rock. You know, you give a team a year off where the coaches can only have Zoom meetings, they can't practice, they can't go in the locker room, they can't even go to the school. And so that affects the entire program from a coaching standpoint, from a player development standpoint, from a jail and locker room standpoint. And so now you're seeing that because Mars is only one of the only public schools that's left. Cedric Miller does an outstanding job. His son is one of the finalists for Mr. Football. And so you can see why he's still playing because he has talent. He's probably had a chance to do some things that other schools didn't have a chance to do. But you can tell, Dave, this whole pandemic thing and with it being a year off has affected a lot of public schools.
You think Whitehaven may be the most affected?
Yeah, absolutely. Whitehaven, or Ridgeway, the teams we're normally talking about this time of year, the Whitehavens, the Ridgeways, even Houston has been on the rise now. Joe Riccone had a good year at Kaiser, but normally the familiar teams we're talking about this time of year, they've been out of the playoffs for a couple of weeks now. And, Coach Austin and I was talking yesterday. This is the first time in, I want to say, 18 or 20 years we've been home this early at MUS.
Would you say for the year, the Dragons' undefeated regular season and one win in the playoffs, they lost last week to a really good Ravenswood team, at home though, but nonetheless, that shows you how good Ravenswood is, but that they would be the story of the year to go undefeated?
Oh, absolutely. Dave, Joe Riccone had one of his best players was hurt. His linebacker was hurt, in the cast with, I want to say, broken arm. And so, he was without one of his big-time players. But, hey, 10-0, anytime you go undefeated during the regular season, that's a major accomplishment because it is so hard to keep guys focused for 10 weeks, 11, 12 weeks in a row to try to go undefeated. And my hat's off to Joe Riccone and his coaching staff and that whole team and the seniors on that team for the leadership that they provided this year.
All right, let's talk some of these matchups tonight. Let's start with a team we really have not talked much about, and that is Lausanne. And what they have done over the last few years has been great, crazy great. They're 9-1. They've only lost one time. They're in Division II, AA. And they take on CPA. They've won 10 games this year, but lost twice. How do you break down that game?
But Kevin LeCastro, he's one of the best coaches in this area. Chris Jordan, one of the great young defensive minds, former Tiger. I think Chris Jordan does an amazing job defensively. And Lausanne has talent. They've got one of the, a guy that's up for Mr. Football. They tailback. And so, Kevin has always found a way to utilize his talent the best way possible, and he's done that year after year, even when he was at Christian Brothers, and he's found a lot of success at Lausanne, early on with Eric Gray. It's just the same. You keep reading the same book, the same page. It seems like it's the same book, but he does it every year with different guys, and he just fills in the holes. And so this is another great year for him. I think CPA, I would lean more toward them being the favorite. I think Ingle Martin is the coach, I think, at CPA, and he's done an amazing job. If you don't know Ingle, he was at NBA. They won 3 state championships in a row with him, and then he went on to Florida and then transferred to Furman. So he's a very good young coach as well, and they're very talented. And I think Kevin and them will meet a formidable challenge tonight.
That's interesting. The road the CPA coach has taken. The tip of the cap I've got to give is to the administration of Lausanne. You think about this. They're Johnny-come-lately. They've only been a football program, maybe 15 years? If that many?
12 to 15 years, if that.
And think about the only 2 coaches they have ever had, Ken Netherland and Kevin LeCastro. Both of those are 2 of the greatest coaches in Shelby County history. Netherland, I think, is the winningest coach in Shelby County history at this point. I know Bobby Alston may be chasing him, but at this point, I think Netherlands still got him.
Yeah, I think he does too. And like you said, Dave, is the school hadn't been playing football long. It was for years. It was known as a tennis school. A lot of these tennis players from around the country came along there, and it was a tennis school. And so Kevin Ken Netherlands got the ball rolling, and the administration has done an excellent job of hiring a guy like Kevin Castro to replace Ken, and Chris Jordan, and Kevin's got a staff that's been with him for a while over there, and so he's done an amazing job. Got one of our former players over there helping him out as well, and so he's done an amazing job with their program, keeping it relevant year in and year out with good players.
All right, let's touch on Christian Brothers. A great story because now they're coming into their own, 8-4, and they're taking on another surprise participant, NBA, which is 8-3. But Christian Brothers has to go to MBA. What was it after this rough start and all these early season accolades for the brothers? What turned the Purple Wave season around?
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, to me, what one thing that I noticed, because I was at the game when they played Briarcrest last weekend, is that their defense has really stepped up. Now, I know, they were leading 28-6 at halftime, and, Briarcrest, Brian Stewart and them came storming back, and they got a lot of good players, too. But I think Christian Brothers' defense has stepped up these past couple of weeks. They went up to Knoxville Catholic and beat a good team up there, came back and beat a Briarcrest team that beat them early in the season, at which they hung on to win. And then, Dave, let's face it, Dallin Hayden and Kudas, two of the best players in this state, in this area, in the country. If you listen to me talk, they're two of the best young players in the country. And, Dallas committed to Ohio State. Kudas is committed to Arkansas, one of the SEC powers. And so anytime you got two bell cows like that, you're going to have a chance. And, they're going to run into a buzzsaw tonight. NBA is a tough team. They got a good young quarterback. They're tough on defense. It's like you said earlier, Dave, they stumbled out the box early. At one point, I think they were 1-3 or 2-3, and 1-2 rather. And then they put some games together, and they're coming into their own night. This should be a great ball game tonight because the NBA is going to try to do everything they can possible to stop Dallin Hayden tonight.
Who wins?
I'm going to give the nod. I think NBA will get it done. I'm just playing these two teams year in and year out and going up the NBA a lot. I just think NBA can throw the ball just a little bit better than Christian Brothers. You're going to have to throw the ball some tonight to win. And I'm not saying Christian Brothers can't throw it. I think Astor Struthers does an amazing job. But I think NBA is going to have more receiver guys other than one or two guys to throw the ball to. And I think they'll find a way to stop Dallas.
Great game in 2A. MAHS, you just mentioned Cedric Miller's team with his son, a great player, who I believe is going to Tennessee. They're 11-1. They got to go to Westview, though, on the road, another team that is 11-1. What happens there?
I tell you, we said this last week. If you remember the games we picked last week, everybody that went on the road lost. So, it's that time of year. It's, going on the road to win a playoff game, it's a tall task, especially when you're going against another team is equally as good as you or equally as talented as you. It's just a tall task, and not that it's impossible, but it's just a tall task of getting on that road and getting these guys up again against another good formidable team. I think Cedric Miller tonight will make a go of it. I think his son will produce, but I think it'll be just a little too much tonight to go on the road and get a win. It's going to be tough for these Memphis teams to go on the road and get wins against these good ball clubs. It'll be a tall task.
And one final matchup, regional. Covington is 9-2, but they got to go to Dyersburg that has not lost yet this year. That's 3A. What happens?
Yeah, and, like I said, Covington going on the road. You and I both know that whole city of Dyersburg will be at that game tonight.
Yep.
And they'll have those shakers going, and, it'll be a tall task for Covington. Not, like I said, not that it's impossible, but going on the road in a playoff atmosphere with a good team, but with a talented team and a real good coaching staff, it's just a tall task to overcome. And, I think it'll come tonight for Covington at the end of the road tonight. I think Dyersburg will get the win. I'm thinking these are home teams with home field advantage. That, to me, that gives them the edge over the teams that's visiting tonight, is home field advantage.
we'll have championships to talk about next week and maybe recap this whole season a little bit too. Thank you, Coach, and we'll talk with you.
Can't wait to some of these college games too. There's been a lot of good college games start with our game tonight against Houston for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's right. That is going to be a fun game to watch. There's a streak that's going to die. The Tigers' 5-game win streak over the Cougars, or the Cougars' 9-game win streak total this year. That'll be fun. Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Go Tigers, go tonight.
Glenn Rogers, Jr., brought to you in part by the Spirit Shop. Okay, weekend's here. I know you want to go maybe tailgate at one of these games tonight. Maybe you're going to have a little party for the Tigers game tonight, or maybe you got your doubleheader going because you got Tiger basketball beginning at 7. Football game doesn't start till 8. I mean, we'll be on probably till about 11:30 or 12. That's a long stretch. I know you want the latest in wine or beer or any accessories like to rim your glass, anything that has to do with spirits. They got it at the Spirit Shop, perfectly located right there at Poplar and St. Nick, 4848 Poplar, that little log cabin that is right down the street from Clark Tower. You go in there, it's family-owned and operated. Eddie Cotter's family's been doing that since the 60s, the late 60s, and they're all about having product like you wouldn't believe. You think it's small, walk in there, you'll be amazed. And then they love talking about what they've got. They love talking about spirits. They love to educate you on rare, on middle ground, on bargains that are up and coming. You name it, Eddie Cotter and his family, they know all about it, and they love chatting with you. So make it a full experience. Reload for the weekend. Get your spirits at the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We talk NBA with our agent in Chicago. That's Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports. He comes your way in just a minute.
A new time. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour now from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We've all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, that's not possible. There are aerial pictures that can be taken every 4 years that can be used to measure most buildings, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one looking at pictures that could be 4 years old. If you'd rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, give us a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best service we know how to give. Fiveash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
AC trouble? Call Air Doctors of Memphis, 901-598-HVAC. Owner Matt Davis is a third-generation full-service air conditioning specialist. Air Doctors of Memphis services all major brands, and labor and parts are guaranteed 100%. Their yearly AC checkup is only $60. Then this year, Air Doctors is the official HVAC contractor for St. Jude Dream House. Air Doctors installed the St. Jude Dream House new Train high-efficiency equipment. Get your service from the best. AirDoctorsOfMemphis.com. Call 901-598-HVAC.
So who's hitting the road for the holidays? I know there's a lot of people who want to get their car, truck, or SUV road ready. How about you? Gotta love this news from our friends at Auto Universe Germantown, 7300 Winchester, just off 385. Get this, full service maintenance with no wait time, and you can get an appointment for any day. That's unreal. Big discounts right now for everything from brake service and wheel alignment to replacing wiper blades, rotating tires, checking the battery, even servicing the transmission. Call Auto Universe Germantown today and ask for Robert. Great deal on the oil change and brake check. Or ask about the deal on the radiator service. There really is no wait time. Call for an appointment and get it done. Professional detailing is 20% off now, and you can get paintless dent removal in the Collision Center. Happy holidays from Auto Universe Germantown. Incredible selection of pre-owned luxury vehicles and full service with no wait time. 7300 Winchester or eautouniverse.com.
Attention foodies, there's a great new place to eat Street in a great restored building. South Hall Cafe is now open for breakfast, brunch, and lunch in the former Tobacco Corner. Chef Jesus Ramon is creating classics from scratch with a twist. Enjoy all your favorites, including the best cheese grits in the South, a full bar, an in-house pastry chef, catering, online ordering for curbside or delivery, and a covered patio with live music on the weekends. We're open 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays and 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on weekends. South Hall Cafe, corner of Poplar and Mendenhall.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We always end the week with our friend in Chicago, our agent from Priority Sports. That would be Andy Sheffin. He's brought to you in part by Old Dominick, and that is a cool place to go. By the way, big Tiger supporters. And they always say, share a sip responsibly. I like that about them, but I really like the tour. That's what I really like. This is cool. It's unique. It's the only one that we have in Memphis. It's the only distillery tour at all. And this is a 45-minute sensory journey right there at 305 South Front Street in the heart of downtown. So it begins with the history of the Old Dominick process. You'll find out about their founder, Domenico Canali, and that is really a cool story in its own right. It came over with nothing. Then you get a real close-up view of how they do this, from grain to glass. It is a real art. It is a craft, and they'll show you how they do it, and then it ends with my favorite part, a curated tasting of the Old Dominick portfolio of spirits. And by the way, if you're looking for something late to do in the evenings, you got to love their bar. They've got this really cool, elegant bar, but not stuffy. And they've got mixologists ready for you to enjoy a cocktail made entirely with the spirits produced right there at Old Dominick. So go check it out. It's unique. It is really cool. It's part of Memphis. It is Old Dominick Distillery. So to Chicago we go. This is very far away. Houston, Texas to Chicago, but we spare no expense to do this show. Andy Schiffman, how are you? And explain how my Grizzlies, your Grizzlies, were able to win 2 in a row. It seems like that's not possible in this day and age.
Well, hey, we'll give them 2 in a row, but you can't forget Monday was the Houston Rockets, the one-win Houston Rockets. So I think coming off some of the games they had, you needed that confidence booster, and you got that at home. And I for sure think that momentum carried over into last night's big win against the Clippers. You saw how hard the Clippers fought, how many times they came back to take the lead or tie it up after the Grizzlies kept going on a run, what Paul George did there in the third quarter. But, hey, credit to Ja Morant. We keep saying it every week. He's an all-star, and he keeps proving us right every single week with the game he had last night and how he carried them and just solidified a great win for the Grizzlies last night.
Well, you talk about what Paul George did in the third. How about Ja, 17 in the third? I love the balance. I want to ask you this. How difficult is it in the NBA, and not just the Grizzlies, but when you insert a new part that had maybe even been a part, and I'm referring to Dillon Brooks, because when he became a starter again, and you were bringing people, and in particular Melton, off the bench, and Kyle Anderson is a new role this year coming off the bench, how tough is that to really, I guess, get into a rhythm? Because it seemed like the Grizzlies the last few games, and don't forget they lost to a 1-win Pelicans before they beat that 2-win Houston team. How tough is that to really get your footing? And also your guy, Brandon Clark, who was outstanding with 14 last night, he's got to figure out, some days he's not playing at all. I mean, how tough is that to get that chemistry?
Well, look, it's hard to get into a rhythm, just to your point, Dave, when you have a key piece like Dillon Brooks coming back now, playing the last 4 games after not having played the whole season. But you got to remember, it's not like against Charlotte, they just threw him out there, and that was the first time this team played with him all season. They were inserting him into practices and obviously limited practice because it's during the season. But for sure, the core component of the Grizzlies had some court time with Dillon before they played Charlotte. Obviously, that one was a loss, but he looked great. And he looked great in all 4 games he played in. And then the New Orleans one, I don't know what to chalk that one up to. That was just a horrible loss, unexpected all around. But then they bounced back these last 2. So it is difficult, but it's not necessarily like you're adding a completely new player with 4 other players out there that don't know how to adapt or how to play with him. That's just not the case in the NBA. But there is a little bit of a transition period. And then, to your point, my guy BC, he's accepted his role. I may not be happy with it, but he may not be happy with it, but he's accepted it, and he's made the most of it, just sort of not really knowing if you're going to be in the rotation tonight, if you're not going to be in the rotation. And one thing that actually is hard to do, and we talk about it all the time, is to do what Brandon's doing, to stay ready when his number's called, maybe after not playing significant minutes in another game or sitting on the bench, not really being able to get into a rhythm and get warm, and all of a sudden being inserted in the game against Houston, coming off the bench with 12 points, didn't miss a shot, 14 points off the bench with 5 rebounds last night, 7 for 9. That is hard to do. Just kind of come in and be thrown out there after not really being sure when your number would be called to go out there and be effective and produce.
Well, I say this not being loyal to you or anything. I mean this. I think they're a better team when Brandon Clark is out there with his energy on both sides of the floor. And
he gives them something different.
You know what? Maybe Taylor Jenkins will figure all that out in the long run. That is his job for sure to do it. Let me ask you about Golden State. Curry last night, bad hip, scores 40. He had 20 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And Golden State blasted Cleveland 104-89.
Curry Cleveland was winning that game for the majority of the game.
Yeah. Curry 9 threes, though. He just took over the game in the fourth quarter. My question for you is Curry as good now as he was, say, 2 or 3 years ago, his MVP years? Or and Golden State, now they're going to have the same problems, I guess, with chemistry, but they're going to get Klay Thompson back. He's got 5-on-5 practice with contact going on now. And James Wiseman's coming back. I mean, you look on paper, they've already got the best record in the NBA. They should only get even better.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, Steph is my front runner for the MVP by a long shot at this point in the season, Dave. 5 of the last 7 games, he's made 9 threes. He's averaging per game over 5 made threes a game. That is just ridiculous. Those numbers are unfathomable. And so you add in a healthy Klay Thompson, again, same thing. They're working him in slowly. They don't need Klay or James Wiseman to win right now. They're not in any rush to bring those guys back. I can tell you that. The more rest and the more they can win without those guys, the better for both of them, James and Klay coming off injury. So they are a dangerous, dangerous team. And like I said, Cleveland, they're a little bit surprising to me. I think they're 9-8 right now. I did not project them winning, and they have become a really good team. And they had Golden State at home, and like I said, Cleveland was winning the majority of the game last night. And then, like you said, Steph just took over in the fourth quarter. He is absolutely as good as he ever has been. He is my front runner for the MVP. If the season were to end today, obviously we're only in mid-November roughly, but man, the NBA has to look out for the Warriors, especially when you work in Klay and James. And the other thing about Steph, regardless of who he's playing with, there's going to be no adjustment period for Klay getting back into that lineup in terms of how Steph is going to handle that. He's just that good. He's played with these guys before. I could be out there. He's still going to be putting up massive numbers.
I saw the Cavs on opening night. I looked at their roster. I looked at their guard play. I love Evan Mobley, but I got to tell you, I looked at that and I go, what? But they play so hard for P.J. Bickerstaff that's why they are in these games. All right, 76ers put out a list now. I don't think they're showing everybody, but they have 30 guys they say they would trade Ben Simmons for, including Damian Lillard, James Harden, Bradley Beal. Those guys aren't going to be willing, I don't think, to come to Philly. And then you had the GM for the 76ers say this could take 4 years. I mean, he's willing to play chicken with Ben Simmons. Will this thing actually have a conclusion this year?
I personally think so. I saw this list of players. I mean, sure. I mean, look, any GM can go out there and just mark down every top all-star among every team and say, we'd take him for Ben, we'd take him for Ben. That's not really news. That's not revelating to me as an NBA fan. But again, on the flip side, do you have other general managers around the league saying, yeah, we'd trade our all-star for a guy like Ben Simmons? The only I think name that maybe could make some sense on both sides would be a Damian Lillard. because Portland is in a bit of a struggle right now. They've got a lot of uneasiness, we'll say, in their front office with their general manager Neil Olshey going through some stuff off the court in being scrutinized by the league. Obviously, Damian Lillard wants to win right now. I think Philadelphia with Embiid is set up to win right now when you've got a healthy Embiid for sure. That would be pretty intriguing. Would Portland take back Ben Simmons? You know, if Damian Lillard stands on the table and says, "Hey, get me out of here, I'm demanding a trade," then I think you see some pieces fall into place rather quickly. I do think there will be conclusion this year. I think Ben will be traded this year. I think it's a bit ludicrous that he hasn't played because he's losing money every game he sits out and just making himself look bad. I think it's really bad PR for him, but I do think it will come to a head at some point this season prior to the trade deadline.
Andy Schiffman, is always a pleasure, a treasure to speak with you. We'll do it again next week. Have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Tell your family I give them my best.
You too, Dave. Thanks a lot.
That's our agent in Chicago. That is Andy Schiffman. So we got to thank him. We got to thank Glenn Rogers Jr. Just a note. I don't think I got to this yesterday. The schedule is out for the Memphis Americans. This is the NISL team that is supposed to start playing in the Lander Center, which, by the way, the Lander Center, with all that new renovation they're going to do, that place is going to be something else. But they are supposed to start, I think, the day after Christmas. They've got 4 teams now. They got a 4th team. It's in Rome, Georgia. So you got 2 in Georgia, 1 in Memphis, and 1 in Carolina, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They plan on having 8 teams the next year, but they are going to have a season, and we'll get more on the Memphis Americans and the men's team and the women's team, because remember, it's doubleheaders every time. As soon as we get more info, we might have to have Andrew Haynes on in the next week or so to talk about all of that. Big day for the Tigers. Not only do we have football, we got Western Kentucky, and Memphis has a payback game with them, and then you've got Memphis women and Duke in round 2 of the women's NCAA soccer playoffs. So could Memphis? That's an overall number 1 seed. If Memphis could beat them in their place, they would stay actually for the 3rd round game in Duke. They got all those games scheduled in Duke, so it'll be interesting to see. But 3 big things happening this particular Friday for 3 different teams: Memphis football, Memphis basketball, and the Memphis women's soccer program. I don't hear any music, Jay Morgan. And it says
it's playing. I for some reason there's some kind of communication error, but we got about 15 seconds left on it.
Okay, thank you very much. So that'll do it for us. Live radio, you got to love it. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you from New York. Well, actually, it'll be on Tuesday. We'll talk to you Monday.
Get to Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike for your